Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our global webinar presenting our integration with Huawei Ocean Store Solutions. Kindly use the messenger inside the application and let me know if you can hear me well and if the slides are visible. Just send me a plus or an OK, please. Rajesh, can you hear me? Small, Randy? Just general chat window. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. I guess everyone can hear me well, so we can proceed. I'll just start my presentation and let's begin. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the whole purpose of joining you all on this global webinar together is to present our capabilities and the news about our integration with Huawei Ocean Store storage solutions. I have my colleague Jie Hu from the Middle East office of Huawei, who has joined our presentation and will lead his part of the presentation later on. Let's begin. Since we are running this global webinar across our database, I guess there's no reason for you to explain who we are. You know SearchInform. Some of you are partners, some of you are clients of SearchInform solutions. I guess there's no much need to introduce Huawei. These days, the brand is known all across the globe, and there's really no reason why I should think that some of you doesn't know what this company does. The whole purpose of doing this integration and of presenting it to you is to present to you customers and clients this whole idea of having this great bundle of one of the fastest storage solutions on the market with one of the best-in-class file auditing solutions that allows you to guard your most sensitive information kept on those data storage systems and comply with existing personal data protection legislation if this kind of information is kept on these storage units and so on. What is the problem that we are trying to help you solve with this integration and with our integrated solutions? We all understand that these days all companies have a huge number of data saved in their storages on their workstations and in their shared files. The number of materials, the number of data accumulated in those storage systems definitely need high precision and high speed of keeping it and granting access to it. On the other hand, having this large numbers of information requires to have proper safety of that information, understanding and having the ability to be absolutely transparent, having quick access to that information, and being sure that the access to those sensitive files kept on those storage systems is being properly managed. we have to understand what kind of files contain critical and sensitive information. Where do we keep them and who currently has access to them? How much of this data does the company have in general, and where do we keep it? Who can access those sensitive files? FileAuditor, SearchInform FileAuditor does the following to all the files that you keep on your workstations and on those Exchange servers. In this particular case, the NAS storages by Huawei. First thing it does is it scans the whole file system of the company. It gets access to all the file system, including the workstations and the Exchange servers. It classifies all those files in accordance with the security policies that you have previously assigned to the system. It assigns personal tags to those sensitive files depending on which particular rule do they fall under. And it allows to further manage those files in accordance with the classification and tagging that we did before. Secondly, the solution allows to audit the access rights to those files and see who exactly in the company right now has access to each particular sensitive file. So the solution allows us to quickly remanage the access rights to those files and be sure that, first of all, the rules of the company that regulate the access rights to the sensitive files are being followed. Secondly, it allows to be sure that we comply with existing legislation that forces us to keep track about the sensitive information. For example, again, pertaining to personal data. Okay, make sure we understand who has access to that sensitive data and how do people manage it? How do they use that sensitive information? Thirdly, the solution allows to monitor how the data is being transferred across the system, how this kind of data is being shared with other colleagues inside the company and outside the company perimeter. The solution allows to block suspicious activity with the sensitive files, and therefore, if you really consider this or that information to be really sensitive, you have all the abilities to stop the transfer of the given files outside the company perimeter. Apart from that, the solution tracks each and every kind of file activity done with those files, and therefore we can definitely know who reads the files, who modifies the files, who gets access to that files, and so on and so forth. One more particular feature of the solution that's not being mentioned here for some reason is the ability to archive several iterations of those critical information, of those critical files, and therefore get access to the history of the amendment of those files and retrieve them back in case we lose them somehow. So what else does this solution allow us to do? From the point of view of the search capabilities, we are able to search through those files with the help of particular dictionaries relating to this or that topic, be it trade secrets, GDPR, internal company rules, legislation, and so on and so forth. Second is the approach to search by attributes. which allows us to search through those files by their attributes, be it file names, file type, size, or whatever other attribute can be. Regular expression is the approach that allows us to build special formulas that allow to search for particular data, be it numbered restricted documents, be it personal documents as ID numbers, passport numbers, phone numbers, and so on and so forth. Basic search algorithms by words and word phrases, search by operations, creating, removing files, modifying files, and so on and so forth. The solution allows us to build special policies and have instant alerts notifying us about suspicious activity with those sensitive files, which is pretty good for the purpose of information security. As soon as we have some kind of suspicious activity, designated managers and analysts of the company would receive the alerts. File classification, as we mentioned before, we classify the files, we add colorful tags to them, which allow us to further work with them in a more convenient way. And thirdly, it is really important that the solution keeps the so-called library of those tags, which allows us to further use those tags for other purposes, such as use them with other information security systems like DLP, for example. It allows us to block those files from being printed or sent outside the company perimeter, and so on and so forth. As for the report capabilities of the solution, I can mention that there's a number of more or less standard reports, being statistical reports telling you how much use of those files is out there, what is the top used file, for example. But we also have very special reports such as relations chart, showing you who interacts with whom inside the company, who shares the information between them, what kind of information is being shared, and so on. Content routing report is a great type of report which allows you to identify where exactly does this or that particular document first appear in the company network, and how was it shared inside the network, who shared it with whom, and try to analyze the reasoning behind that. Software and hardware report is a nice one that allows you to automatically build a statistical report showing the exact audit report of what kind of hardware is being installed on this or that machine, what kind of software is out there, and any changes in it on a daily basis. How does the solution particularly work? It's pretty simple, as you can see from the picture in front of your eyes. There's workstations inside your network. There's the Huawei Ocean Store storage solutions. They both have agents standing on them, which collect all the logs and all the data, start analyzing in them immediately on the agent side, and then later on process the necessary data to the server, which does the analytics and then sends the results to an SQL server for saving it, and to the auditor's workstation for further analyzing it and investigating a bit deeper in it if need be. Data is automatically changed for compliance with existing internal legislations and rules that are introduced to the system. What are the benefits of having such a system in place? We definitely want to monitor all the file content. We definitely want to know where our most sensitive information resides, and we definitely want to know who has access to it. Flexible rule setting is important, as on the one hand, we have the greatest hardware in town. We have a great software solution that allows to do analytics and according with it. But we definitely want to be sure that we can personally manage the system, and that's what exactly SearchInform FileAuditor allows you to do. You don't need to call the vendor every time you want to introduce a new policy to the system. You get trained at the time of the system implementation in your company, and then you basically apply basic logics and common sense to it in order to further process, introduce new policies with it, and do daily activities with it. High frequency of information check allows you to personally define how often do you want to check the whole file system again, and identify the changes made to the most sensitive information of your company. It is important that the architecture of the system is done in a proper way, which allows to avoid unnecessary double checking of the same files all the time while overloading the system capabilities. The system does not do that. We only check the newly appeared files which contain sensitive information, or the files that were amended or changed. We don't double check the files that during this particular day were never even opened. I would like to once again mention the ability of the system to save up to 100 iterations of most sensitive files, which is really great from the point of view of double security, the ability to have a reserved copy of your most sensitive file, and not only one, but in case if need be, you can have up to 5, 20, 50, or even 100 iterations of those files, which allow you to go back in time, check the history of file amendment, and see how was it changed, who exactly made some mistake and introduced it into the file, and go back to that particular version and start working from there. That very same feature of saving of several iterations of the files allows us to also retrieve the files that are deleted or disappeared because of some hardware failure, for example. That's about it from my side. Thank you so much for your attention. Feel free to send your questions to our chat. Meanwhile, I'll stop my presentation and pass the floor to my colleague Jie Hu from SearchInform. Thank you. Sorry, Jie Hu from Huawei. Thank you so much for your attention. Jehu, are you with us? Any technical issues? You can leave a message in the chat if you need help. Okay. Please take the mic. It's yours.
Thanks, Alex, for the very good introduction. I'm Jehu from Huawei, Middle East region, from the storage product line, regional CTO. Today, I will present the enterprise NAS solution as the topic. And if you have any of those questions, concerns, and you can text in the message, and I can respond or explain. And for those questions which you have. We have 4 parts in total for today's session. First of all, we're talking about the trends and the challenge. From the, especially for the unstructured data, you could see from the diagram, from 2014 and to 2020, actually, the unstructured data dramatically increased, still increased actually. You could see these numbers. 2014 was 15.3 EB on the capacity, and these then electronic files going to this, included the like movies or packs, the image files going to 70.2 AB. Actually, every year there's still large increase on those unstructured data. How should we keep them, for safely, and especially for this meet the critical business requirements? That's why we have to have those, very good performance, reliable NAS storage to these meet these critical business requirements and in our organization. When we're talking about these, the file system storage, and we're always thinking of those, the huge amount of data increasing. How should we get this both capacity increase and the performance to meet these business requirements as well? So especially, in some of the new areas like electronic design automation, we call it EDA or CAE, computer aided engineering. There's actually a huge amount of data, produced in the area. And for sure, and also we have massive of the email services, and also require the expansion of the storage. Both do require on the capacity or the performance point of view. So there is actually make everybody to thinking when we purchase a storage, we have get a the from performance point of view to meet the performance, meet the networking latency requirements, and also we have to think of the capacity, and how do we get the large capacity with the best CTO saving, TCO saving. Um, so so that's why we're talking about it, especially when these business continue to come in. Um, Probably some of you guys already heard, data center have a fires, or power outages. Sometimes it happens. Even have these virus happen on your system, from a computer to your storage or device faulty, and those kind of things, especially for different industry. And actually, you could see there is the losses of the per hour for downtime, how much it costed. For example, this you could see that finance area is a really huge impact, and even energy and telecom, those industry also will be costing them a lot. So that's actually to make those organization starting to thinking how to get a reliable storage to saving the important data. So that's one of these generic overview, or we call it the trends and the challenge which we're facing, and how should we provide a better solution to solve those challenges in today's industry. And then we come with Huawei Enterprise NAS solution with converged, efficient, and reliable solution, and to solve those challenges or issues which we have in the industry. For sure, Huawei have a wider range of portfolio for the NAS product, from entry level to the mid range and to the high end. You could see from the slide, you have different module numbers. For example, we have entry level 2600 V5, and the mid range from 5300 to 5800, include 5500. Let's have some new chipset from Qualcomm, which is Huawei own chipset, and make the performance dramatically increase. And you could see the high end, from the 6800 to 8500, V5 series or models. Each of those, have detailed information of the controller, interconnection, and the cache, capacity, and with this SSD tab. Each of them, we could see that clearly. So basically, these and it will be guarantee, these high performance to meet the critical business requirements. For example, we use RDMA, that's a new protocol, and less complexity and the system. And the cache from entry level could up to 128 gigabyte, and for sure, and it could for the high end, it could up to 1 TB size for the cache. So that's actually what we guarantee, the performance on the different business scenarios when you choose different model to meet the requirements. When we're talking about the enterprise NAS system, and we always to think of these different protocols. For example, use a common internet file system or use networking file system, which is very popular in the existing environment. Or you're trying to use for the backup solution, we call it networking data management protocol. Those actually will be cover most of those file system in the business scenario. Actually, we have come with a series of we call the smart features, from the automation tiering to intelligent service quality control, and with intelligent cache partition, and with also this SSD caching. You probably heard of a lot of the industry says with inline duplication performance, and also we have inline compression. Everything we have started from smart. That means the smartest series of the future software features while we offering to the market, and also included the quality management and multi-tenant model as well. And those actually come from the features like a hyper snapper, which do the snapshot, hyper replication for the remote replication, and the warm feature from the hyperlocker and hypervolt to do the all-in-one backup solution, with hypermetro to do the active-to-active system, to guarantee the high availability. Hyperclone will do the clone. So this actually include all the features which we needed in those NAS file system. And now we're talking about the convergent system, which what is the advantage they have. Previously, you probably heard a lot of vendors, so they do need a gateway system for the file system, especially we call the NAS. And Huawei is offering actually is gateway free, and with this cutting the cost by 50%, because this actually do not need the additional NAS gateway, additional hardware for the system. It's already built in the system. And with the parallel architecture as well. This actually both from the block system, which called the SAN, which is the file system, which is NAS, both providing the premium path and the different business for the best-in-class access performance. So you could see this actually with the picture, from the bottom storage side, we providing the storage pool with RAID 2.0 system as a technology 20 times faster to reduce, the multi-disk failure risk is by 95%. And that's because of distributed storage, storage kind of technology. We call it distributed RAID system in the NAS system in the file. So both will be supported the SAN and NAS parallel architecture with from the block device we could support both SCSI 5-channel over Ethernet. On the file system, we supported NFS, SIFS, and FTP, HTTP protocols. So this actually clearly to show us the capability in the file system, which we called it the convergent system. And also have a portfolio to cover the convergent, we call the convergent backup solution. Especially for the snapshot-based backup solution, will be efficient data backup between the disk areas to meeting the data security requirements and arisen from the expensive growth of the unstructured data. What does that mean by that stuff is backup software is not required actually in this scenario. No needed to purchase expensive backup software. The incremental backup or for file system is transparent to the host and the applications. We have a flexible backup solution and to efficient backup system as well. So there will be zero backup window, minute level system recovery time, and no impact on the service performance. That's actually will be the backup and efficiency is improved by 10 times. So you could imagine, the backup can be executed in amount of high-end, mid-range, and entry-level disk areas. And those actually gives a lot of benefits to the large customers. And when you think of the how to make your data more secure. When we're talking about this, and always people always thinking in the technology area, especially for the data storage, we sort of that efficiency of the storage of file system, and we provided the world's fastest solid state disk actually. So you could see that the different vendors, the latter ratings which we have the shortest. This actually because we provided an intelligent CPU partition, and with these, controller chips that use the SSD flash translation layer, we call it FTL algorithm. So to accelerate the data reads and writes, the I/O latency is shorter than the competitors' products. That's one of the key technology which we provide end to end. And also with this come with the dedicated LDPC, which means the leading industry-leading LDPC algorithm with 200 bits with a 4 KB error correction capacity, improving error checking and the correction efficiency by 3 times. So this what we provided to the market is high performance solid state disks can provide the performance necessary to handle the explosive growth of the unstructured data. So as we mentioned, it's the media disk is very important to meet the critical performance in the industry. Also, we have those SPEC performance to indication to let what is the lower latency or why we have that. You could see from other vendors to the NAS performance in the industry, which tested by SW build scenario. So what we have this you could see we on the 6800F V5 model come with 500,000 and 500,000 OPS and the performance indication. So that's actually is much higher than other vendors in the industry. So that's why, and people thinking, we have by this strategy, we should have the better performance. And end of the day, always thinking, how can we get lossless snapshot or in the system from the file system to the snap and be quicker. We said, in second snapshot, no user data needs to be copied or to be created in the snapshot. That's a snapshot can be created within 1 or 2 seconds. And also that will be a scheduled snapshot creation with a quick deletion function as well. When we delete these snapshots, release the root the node points and the data exclusively occupied by the snapshots without affecting to the file system data. So that's why we call this robust lossless snapshot for the quick local backup of the unstructured data function. So that's actually also that's one of these key features which we offer in the file system. And as we mentioned, the inline duplication and the compression in the future, there will be less space and a large SSD file span, and with a high efficiency in the SSD cache technology used to enable the duplication to access and process metadata quickly. This gives you an overview, from the flux length data block and creation to the fingerprint calculation use SH1 and the fingerprint query and the compression with beta compression into the data block compression storage. And it's a very clear picture to show you the inline duplication and the compression, saving the space for the storing, explosive of those unstructured data in some of those scenarios. And for sure, later we have different scenarios and user cases to show you the details. And also we're talking about, converged system efficiency and reliability also, that's one of these key features we're looking for. From the symmetric engine to the smart matrix 2.0 architecture, actually we have the 4 controller for redundancy. So that in the system, interconnected through the passive back plans, the front end interface module fully shared, and the back end SAS 3.0 linking, full connected. Continuously caching mirroring with tolerance of the dual point of failure. So actually, if 2 controllers are become faulty, and the storage system ensure the service continue and available. So that means that these tolerance of the concurrent failures of 3 out of 4 controllers minimize the risk of the single point of failure in the storage system. You look at an industry, not many people can do that. 3 out of 4 controller failed, still the business still keep going, and will be not in fact the business interaction, but the performance for sure will be reduced. So that's actually the because we have a reliable architecture, we call it, that's a smart metrics 2.0 architecture to guarantee the reliable system. Actually, when we come into this, you're always thinking, if the disk failed, and how long will it take it to the recovery? And we have, 20 times faster than the traditional RAID system. Actually, it only takes 30 minutes to reconstruct 1 TB data, minimize the impact of the reconstruction or service, and the probability of the multi-disk failure. Because we have self-checking and self-healing system in the RAID system 2.0 plus, use the distributed how to spare space. If a ocean star storage system detects a fault, and reconstruction automatically, start as long as there are free chunks of the space in the disks, and thereby to improve the reliability and the cutting the management cost as well. So this actually one of those key technology we offering to the market, and with the faster reconstruction, minimize the risk of the data loss caused by the storage media faults. So you probably heard some of other vendors, the similar 1 TB might be taking few hours to complete the job. And the reliable solution actually, because we come with the hypermetro for both SAN and NAS system to guarantee 24/7 continuity of the mission critical business. You could see that how it works in the diagram from the hypermetro, from the different sites, with one device to support active-to-active protection for files and the database, and to guarantee you come with 5 9 availability of the mission-critical business, and one quorum system as well. SAN and NAS share one quorum system, which ensure the data, consistency in the case of a link failure, and they prevent the single point of failure as well. And also will be one networking, the heartbeat linking, configuration linking, and the physical linking between two sites integrated into one link. So one networking supports both SAN and NAS transmission, as we mentioned previously. Also, it's a gateway free solution. And then after we're talking about the trends challenge, our NAS solution, and we come into the application scenarios. So actually, what exactly business or application scenarios that we do require for those high technology to protect our data, especially for the massive unstructured data, to guarantee by the IT based in finance. For example, we centralize the transition process and risk control, e-commerce, you name it. Actually, the image of the large amount of the paper documents, including the customer profile, transaction receipts, and application, from the credit loans or credit cards and the debit cards. So all those are important, for the finance industry. And when we're using this, high available system, high performance storage to guarantee the finance, sector areas, I give you example. That's a very good reference. Electronic image states of the City Commercial Bank. You could see that, the some of numbers already here to show you the daily incremental data of about 300 GB. So average files is about 100 KB. The range from dozens of KB to 200 KB. Total volume online data larger than 50 TB. The 24/7 ongoing service to require 1 week for the backup. So this actually will be include the credit, check pool, and creative control, and centralized authorization. That will be have this all the credit improvement approval and quickly. So this actually a very critical scenario in the finance sector, and with this high performance um, file system, which we call the NAS. And also you could see this, from the state requirements from the electronic image storage system. We listed by these, key points, states of trend, challenge, and requirements. And for sure, when we come to the other industries, some of the requirements probably very similar, but they have different challenges. Come from the data growth, backup and DR, service continuity, and this always for different industry, they're looking for those key points. So this and actually come with the massive storage and efficient backup, and also they do need active service to guarantee the high availability, to keep the service continuity. Backup and DR, disaster recovery, always challenging, for those in the finance industry, how to improve the backup and the recovery efficiency. So how to perform the incremental backup and of the manage the amount of the small sized files. Actually, this actually needed to have a very good solution to cover all those scenarios. And then when coming to this, real case, you could see this image index and image files, which are saved in this system. Use in our storage to keep the efficiency of the storage multi-controller to extended the file system, which we mentioned, to supporting both scale out and scale up. A single storage system could, accommodate up to the 16 controllers. So to meeting the capacity requirements of the storing large amount of small-sized electronic check of the files. Um, and also when we have the huge amount of files there, when you want to keep it for long term, and also some of those legal requirements, especially for the financial industries or healthcare might be have similar requirements. So they actually do need keep this file for for backup or for long term using. We have all-in-one backup refers to the data backup with a storage area or between the storage areas. It provides a zero backup time window and a multi-level system recovery time, as I mentioned previously as well. So, and no impact on the service performance. So this actually to improve the 10 times, compared to the traditional backup. And there will be service continuity as well. So we mentioned there will be hypermetro for both SAN and NAS to ensure 5-9 reliability. Actually, we come with 6-9 reliability of the index and the image files. And will be 24/7 service access. So this actually, in the finance industry, give you one of these, large banking user cases. We call it SPD banking in China. It's based the headquarters based in Shanghai. This Chinese National Joint Stock Commercial Bank was ranking the 18th on the top 500 banking brands list, released by the British magazine The Bank in 2017. What are these benefits coming to the customer actually to the SPD bank? The performance was improved by 150% to after we replaced the legacy storage, and the backup the all-in-one backup solution, they increased the backup efficiency by 10 times. And also we increased the SAN and NAS system, so reducing the TCO by 30%. That's actually the huge saving for the for the customer. That's one of those large banking in China, and which they adopted Huawei's file system, which we call a NAS storage. And now we come into the healthcare area. Healthcare also very critical business, and especially for the massive unstructured data when generated by the in the healthcare IT. Everybody when you go to the hospital, you probably see the X-ray system, ultrasound, angiographic, and CT or MRI, and all those actually digital image will be saving for for long term, and they will be required to increase this storage capacity, and also do need high performance to guarantee the process. So when we're talking about this system in in different scenarios, when we, for example, you have the chest X-ray, and bone X-ray, or dental X-rays, and for the different scenarios, and ultrasound base scan, and also for different scenarios. So that's actually to list the data for the liver and bowel, renal ultrasound base scan, or frontal base scan, and some of the cerebral cardiovascular angiography. So end of the day, when you come into the we call it the end-to-end healthcare system, they do have massive of those images to saving, and require large amount of the storage and with high performance to get that to meet the requirements. The pack is actually it's a system in the hospital. For the largest scale, the comprehensive hospital, they have, which we mentioned, all those images for include X-ray, ultrasound scan, MRI, or angiography systems will be give you these indications. For example, the daily incremental data, it's about 50 GB. So average file size will be from several hundred KB up to dozens of them megabytes, and total volume of online data will be larger than 50 TB. So with the development of the firmless hospital, that means it will be digitalized. Doctors needed to access the medical check reports on the terminals. That will be required 24/7 online access, to the PACS system. Um, Actually, you look at this. Actually, previously, we after we do the X-ray or ultrasound scan, you have to get a physical, a physical of those image or printing. And now, actually, even some of the hospital provide you with the CD or this kind of to provide the patients. And some of this open actually you could access online. So all the data will be centralized to saving in the massive data storage um, in the hospital now. So this actually in the healthcare industry, it's a very mature system. So very similar case, but they have different requirements or key points required or challenge they have in the healthcare area, especially for the PACS storage system. And for sure, and the data will be keeping growth, and we have multiple depends of the sharing, and always require for service continuity. And we could see that actually one of the difficult things is how to share those images systems in the health system, in the hospital information management systems. And it's not only the doctors, and also could open for the related to the patients, or for authorized users from the for even from the different medical system or hospitals. So they actually needed the integrated the storage, um, as we mentioned in these challenges, how to sharing these medical images files among the multiple departments in real time, and can the PACS data be stored or managed in the same way as that the HIS system? So will be converged or integrated storage system to provide it to the hospital. And for sure, when we're talking about the efficiency of the storage, and you're always looking for the capacity and the performance, both sides in the system, particularly in the PACS system, because it's you needed to guarantee the always online business. So that means 24/7, the doctors or related of those medical um, personnel, they could access this on time. So that's why they always need active system to keep those high reliability, and to um, in the hospital management system, and especially in the PACS system. So when we provided the medical PACS storage solutions, actually we highlight this will be high efficiency storage to guarantee with the multi-controller extended file system supported both scale to scale in. So this actually scale out, scale up system of the capability which we mentioned in the finance, very similar, and there will be also converged uh, convergency and sharing. So there's no debate on that, because actually both for SAN files with the system, how can on real time or on time to get these doctors and medical people to access to get it from the even from the different departments, or even cross the um, hospitals, and if the networking sharing or authorized users. And end of the day, you do need a unified disaster recovery system, especially as we mentioned previously, and the data center sometimes have the failure, or even device failure, or um, have a fire or whatever the other emergencies happen, and you do need those kind of in this kind of scenario, and we use the hypermetro technology to ensure 24/7 access from the other side, and to keep the critical business which we mentioned, it's in the packs or in the health system to running all the time. So there, it's actually do the need of those feature to keep the data secure or the business more secure for that. Let's give you a successful story with the service continuity of the UCL Hospital in the Europe. You could see that it's the largest hospital in French-speaking and the Belgium and the top-level hospital in Europe, which we already providing these some of those performance requirements and the reliability requirements and the capacity requirements you could see in the table. But actually the key information is, so we'll be running by 24/7 mission critical on those services, and 50% actually less operation maintenance cost on the storage device. And also will be 500% of the application performance improved. That's the key actually. So that means they will reduce the cost, reduce the the application process time, and keeping online all the time. So there's to meet this actually critical business which we mentioned previously, especially in the hospital with the health system or PACS system. That's one of these very good use cases. So for sure, end of the day, not only in the finance and actually the healthcare industries, and there's actually they are because they are very critical business. So we mentioned some of the use cases of the key features customer looking for, and we for sure we have a more kind of use cases around the world from different industries, including telecom, banking, finance, and some of the media, system in the world. You probably heard of this largest bank, SABC in China, and also, there's already using the system which we offer to them. And yes, and this very much it's for my session today to cover the the enterprise NAS solution, including the features and scenarios which you're talking about and the use cases. If you do have any questions, and you can ask or send in an online, and we could to explain, or you have any concerns to respond to those requirements. Thank you very much. It's very much is for my session today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again thank you all for participating in the event. Feel free to share your questions. Since there's no questions available at the moment in our chat, feel free to share them in the email form to one of the participants. We would be happy to answer them. Thank you all and have a great day. Goodbye.